Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, I have a very special guest. Yvonne is with us, and we are going to be chatting about her amazing journey, which is still ongoing.
Yes.
We're going to be highlighting some of the big impacting milestones and things she's accomplished. Of course, if you guys have seen the thumbnail, she's obviously lost a ton of weight, but that's only just a small snippet of what we're going to be talking about today. So hopefully you guys strap in, stay tuned. I can feel this is going to be a good one coming up next. We're missing a piece of the puzzle. You start getting healthy and you just become a better person.
We need to start focusing more on the individual.
All right, Yvonne. So welcome to the channel.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, Chris. Thanks.
And I'm extremely happy to have you. And your journey is a unique one in the series of interviews or interactions that I've had with, people on the channel so far. So I'm happy to do this. One of the members of the channel or the Facebook group actually reached out to me and was like, Chris, you have to interview Yvonne. You have to interview her because she's had this amazing journey and she's lost all this weight, and she did it with diet and proper eating being like the forefront of this change. So I've got you here. Let me ask you, would you agree with that? Is that accurate, or how did you go about dropping nearly over 60 pounds?
Well, specifically from eating salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar-free, whole food plant exclusive, low caloric density specific eating. That's how. No exercise routine.
Right.
At all. That's how it's been done. That's how it's continuing to be done. And that's fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, no salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar added. Outside of a few sauces, sometimes particularly ketchup, that if I'm not able to take the time or have the time or going through depression symptoms, which is what's been happening over the last 4 weeks, then I am able to quickly get my hands on Primal Kitchen's oil and sugar-free completely ketchup and barbecue sauce. And it just has a minimal amount of salt in it. So yeah, outside of that, then definitely not adding any salt, any sugar of any kind, consuming any flour products, consuming any alcohol.
Hot girl summer.
You know what? It's been this right here. And it's lovely. Water. And it has been a hot girl summer for me because I'm size 0 again.
Right.
And I'm acting a fool and loving life. Being this size and being able to move around so freely and having so much energy. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
That diet, that sounds, and I don't even know if you want to call it a diet.
I don't. I definitely don't.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't.
I know what? It's actually my lifestyle medicine.
Lifestyle.
Yeah, because abstaining from salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar, it assists in preventing me from being triggered to overeat, which is super painful. It is. It's super painful. So this is my lifestyle medicine.
Lifestyle. Yeah. And that's really what you want to do. You want to find a lifestyle, because that word diet has such a negative connotation. It's just, it's like, oh, I'm going to go and do this thing real quick to lose some weight. And then I'm gonna go back to eating like trash all the time. And so, you know, lifestyle is what we like to promote and talk about. But
right. And diet has the word die in it.
Right.
We living.
Right.
You living, I see.
Yeah.
I'm living. We living. We're eating life.
Right.
So we living. It's a live it, right?
Yep, it's a live it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that is that something that a particular person taught you? How did you kind of learn? You know, it sounds very specific, and how did you learn that?
So I think it's probably best to just kind of tell you how I got to this space.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been battling refined food addiction and overeating for the last 26 years. Ever since I officially became an adult, moved out of the home, and no longer was eating under the established healthy structure that my parents had in place.
Right.
My parents did really good, and I'm only just now realizing it 26 years later.
Right.
You know what I mean? How healthy they really had us eating, myself and my siblings. And so, you know, over the last 26 years, just, you know, eating fast food and eating processed food and thinking we're grown and all that comes with that. And I can eat whatever I want now. And then, you know, I'm a teenage mom. I was a teenage mom. And so starting to add that to my children, at first my daughter, and then, you know, when my second child came along, to their diets. And so with that being said, I tried multiple diets, you know, read multiple books, like I'm sure you have, and just trying to figure out balance. And then 2014, 2015, I finally got the courage up to go to Overeaters Anonymous. And that was a turning point for me around 2014, 2015, because once I joined Overeaters Anonymous, that's when I found out for the first time, or heard for the first time, that this wasn't our fault. That overeating is actually a disorder, a disease. It's an illness. And once I heard that, then it was like, oh, okay. So that's really different from what I'd been hearing.
Right.
Society tells us, our friends tell us, our family tells us, it's our fault. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is moderate, balance, you know? And I started learning once I joined Overeaters Anonymous that everybody actually can't moderate, and most can't. And if it was actually truly possible, we would have been doing it.
Right.
And so from there, then into 2016, since I'd already not been consuming meat, it's been, my daughter is 17, and we stopped consuming any kind of meat outside of seafood by the time she was 3. So about 14 years ago, it's been 14 years since any type of meat consumption outside of seafood. So we were pescatarians, and myself was all the way up until about 4 years ago. And then I stopped seafood. So like the beginning of 2016 is when I stopped seafood. So the end of 2016, I'm like, you know what? I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and I'm finally ready to go ahead and permanently quit dairy. That was the last obstacle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, but it was feeling real stressful. It was feeling super stressful. You know how it is when we do that whole New Year's resolution. Mm-hmm. Right. So even though I by then I don't really like that whole resolution thing. It doesn't feel, you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it's really, it feels like you might be setting yourself up actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I still, you know, probably because it had been that year of no seafood, 2016, right? I just probably, I believe I was feeling more like, okay, well, what's next? So, last few weeks of 2016, I was realizing that it was feeling super stressful. I kept going out and, you know, my daughter would come with me, you know, and okay, this is going to be, you know, these are the last few meals, you know, of the cheese, you know, and the eggs and butter. And so let me get it in. But that started feeling stressful. So the last few days of 2016, I was really thinking, what can I do so that this doesn't feel that stressful? And the idea I came up with was to challenge myself to see how long could I go without eating processed foods? How long could I go and literally only eat meals that I prepared for myself from scratch? So guess what? It worked.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about not cutting out dairy. I can tell you that much. Beginning of 2017, I was thinking about why in the world am I feeling like this? This feels really difficult. Why is my brain calling out for the Lay's potato chips? This is painful, and I only made it 11 days. January the 11th, 2017, I said, enough is enough. 7-Eleven, here I come. Okay. Right. And, but during that 11 days, I have been watching myself. I have been observing myself. And I have been researching how to make the meals that I liked, how to make the things that I like, right?
Yep.
Unprocessed or from start, you know, from scratch. So, then January the 11th, it's like, okay, the type of person that I am, I abhor feeling like I'm a prisoner to anything, any kind of thoughts, any kind of feelings, any kind of substances. I don't like that feeling. Any kind of people, any kind of habits. I don't like those feelings. So I started researching. Online. What is this? Why am I feeling like this? And that's when I started learning about satiety index and the pleasure trap, a book by Dr. Lyle that talks about the motivational triad and how our brains are hardwired to desire the highest caloric density food in our environment. And then that took me back to what I was learning in Overeaters Anonymous about how this isn't our fault. And once I started digging and doing this research, that's how I came to find out about sulfose free and how salt, oil, flour, sugar, alcohol, those are excitotoxins. And consuming those things give our brains dopamine hits. And once I started learning that, then it was just like, okay, well, what can I do? What can I do? And from there, I just continued to research how to create meals from scratch that didn't include salt, oil, flour, sugar. And so it's been different types of information that I've been coming across and utilizing the information in my life.
First of all, wow. You know, I've never heard anybody talk about going to Overeaters Anonymous and the challenging yourself. See, I think we all have that issue where we're like, okay, we want to do this, whatever this thing is, whether it's fasting,
Right.
changing our diet, stopping meat. And
Mm-hmm.
we create this hard line for ourselves where it's like, all right, Friday's the last day. That's it. I'm not smoking anymore. I'm not drinking anymore. I'm done eating meat, whatever your goal is. And that hard line creates so much stress and anxiety, you know, even with just fasting. Hey, I'm going to fast for 10 days. You
Mm-hmm.
create that hard line. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, like, get rid of that line, because this is a journey. You know, we're dealing with addiction. We're dealing with, you know, things that we don't even really fully understand. Why put all that pressure and stress on yourself? Today's the last day, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So that transition, and I love that gradual transition and giving yourself the leeway to make mistakes and things like that. But
Yeah.
challenging yourself to eat whole foods, or, you know, just homemade dishes, that's huge, because, you know, so many of us, we don't know what it takes to make spaghetti sauce. We don't know, you know what I mean? We don't know what it takes to make ice cream from scratch. And because we don't know, we
Right.
think, oh, there's no way we can make this at home. We got to buy it from the store. And it's so it becomes this weird thing where we forget that all of the products that we buy in stores, someone used to make that at home, you know, or locally, and then sell it. And in order for mass distribution to happen, they then converted it to a warehouse, and then they start putting all this crap in it because they couldn't mimic how delicious it was when mom or dad or uncle used to make it.
Exactly.
I know this has been like, being able to make food at home is like, wow, my food is so much better. Is that like, has that been the case for you? Like,
of course. Let me tell you, Chris, I'm so spoiled. Okay. Real talk. I am spoiled and I love it.
Yeah.
You mentioned about how when we're eating these processed foods, a lot of time it doesn't encourage us to think about, where did it come from? Could we make it ourselves? A lot of times we think we can't. I actually did the same thing. I convinced myself that I couldn't cook. Most of my adult life, I convinced myself that I couldn't cook. You know when I actually just finally started? 2017. That's when I finally started cooking because of these challenges, you know, that I'd made for myself. And then because of the information, you know, and realizations. And guess what I found out? I can cook. And I'm actually a bomb ass chef. You know what I'm saying? And yo, my food tastes awesome. And not only does it taste awesome, now as I have been doing a lot more moving around lately, with, you know, these various phases that society has been going into regarding COVID-19. I've actually started consulting with chefs at various restaurants to teach them how to fix sulfose-free, whole food plant exclusive dishes, because, well, it's all I've been doing for the last 7 months.
Right.
And like I said, my food tastes awesome. So, you know,
that's the thing. People think, because like even hearing no sauce, no oils, no alcohol, no sugar, like that sounds like, oh, what do you eat?
Right? I know,
people,
right?
People,
what don't I eat?
Right. You know? It's like we got to break this barrier. People think, oh, you don't eat anything. You just eat rabbit food or something. And it's the complete opposite.
Exactly.
I was actually listening to John Sally. He did it.
Oh yeah.
I love John Sally. Like John.
He's awesome. Yeah.
I started putting the intention out there. I'm gonna meet John Sally. We're gonna do business, something. Like I just like him.
Yeah.
But he was talking about how he's moved towards eating, you know, whole foods, even to the point where he doesn't use olive oil. He'll put olives on it.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, using olive oil.
Whole food. Yeah.
Whole food. And I've never really been a big fan of olives, But
Mhm.
man, there's so much salt and
It is.
fat and there's a lot of goodness in an olive. So if you know how to put it on the thing right, yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Right.
olives
Yeah.
are amazing to cook with.
Hmm.
But
They
that's
can be, but I want to see, can I find olives that don't have any salt, oil in them at all?
well, aren't they like olive oil comes from olives, right? I mean, is
I know, but you know, like in general, how they're sold in stores,
mhm.
right? They're sold in stores steeped inside of salt,
Oh, I
marinate.
see what you're
You know
saying.
what I
Without
mean?
the extra. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean that's like
Um,
trying to find seeded grapes, right? It's
yeah, I know. Or watermelon, or I know, right? Gratefully, I got the plug, Chris.
oh, do you?
Yeah, for our area,
I was
where I
about to
live.
say, what area are you in?
In the DC metro area.
That's good. You got a
Yeah,
plug out there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I just started growing my own. I was just like, that's where I'm at now. Cause
Yeah.
I did the okay, let me start cooking and
Hmm.
let me what's the healthiest ingredients? And then I got to the point where I realized I'm like, yo, I can't even get seeded grapes. Like once I started looking for them, I'm like,
Right.
you can't find them. So I'm
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
very difficult.
it's
Hmm.
time to
It
start
can.
gardening.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the next level.
That's awesome. I admire people like you who have the time to be able to dedicate to it. Um I don't know, maybe one day after, this raising children part of my journey is over, uh I will be able to. I did it when I was a kid. My parents had us, we were able to have our gardens and it was awesome. And I just love green, period. Like, so I love it. But I at this point I'm just not able to dedicate that time, not being a single mom.
Well,
Uh
my goal is
that's my
actually
point. She's my point.
my goal is to actually teach the group a it's not a new technique for gardening. It's actually an ancient technique, but that's what I'm all about because I feel like we were way smarter 1,000 years ago. And so
Yeah. How about that?
yeah. So hopefully what I learned, I'm going through a journey, it's a process,
Mhm.
hopefully my end result will be being able to teach something that's um, not as hands-on as a traditional garden, because when you look at nature,
Yeah.
somehow nature figures it out and nature will produce tons of food with
It's true.
nobody
Yeah.
tilling the land.
Pending. You're right. You're
Right.
absolutely right. And we see it all the time, don't we?
All the
If
time.
we're trained to see it, we
Hmm.
see it all the time. Sides of the road, everywhere, right?
Yep.
You're right. You're absolutely right about
So
that.
nature has it figured out, and we're
Hmm.
trying to put nitrogen in the ground. We're trying to
Yeah.
balance the pH and all this. And this plant doesn't like acidity, and this plant doesn't like alkalinity. And it's like,
Yeah.
but nature's doing it seamlessly. So
True.
that's been the journey for me. That's what I'm
Uh-huh.
learning, and I think that we have gotten so far away from making our own food, and
Yeah.
and then cooking it, and it's like
Mhm.
our parents were so much healthier because, or our grandparents I should say
Right.
probably,
Mhm.
were so much healthier because they had gardens and
Yeah,
they
they
plucked their food,
Mhm.
made
Yeah.
it from scratch, whatever it was. I wanted
Yeah.
to ask you, with wheat is one of the things you don't eat, right? Or is it
If
flour?
I'm gonna eat wheat, then I would actually eat the actual
Okay.
actual wheat,
Okay.
like that's what I do. I have been learning to eat my foods whole, which is what we were talking about,
Yeah.
just now. That's what I've been learning to do. I've been learning to eat my foods whole. So in general, if it's something that I want to eat, then my digestive system is what I've been learning has actually been set up to process whole foods best when I'm giving the food to it in its whole form.
Okay.
It's it's causing it's processing it the best that way, because digestion starts from the moment you know, it enters our mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And our system has been set up in direct relation to the way the food is grown. You know, it comes up whole, right? That's how when you grow into food, it doesn't come out as flour, right?
Right.
Or tomato sauce, you know, or a smoothie or juice. It comes out whole. That's how it comes out. That's how it grows.
Right.
And it's no surprise that our digestive systems are set up to be in their best working order when we're giving our food whole.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I do. That's what I work to do.
Right.
You know, is to eat my food whole. Every so often I'm gonna have me, you know, some juice that's cold pressed, you know, 100%, whether I squeeze it myself or, you know, might be somewhere and just feel like I want it, you know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm aware that when it comes to being a refined food addict, what my triggers are and that I need to be careful to make sure I'm intentionally, for the most part, giving my body my food whole.
Right.
Because that's what's going to prevent overeating and consuming too many calories. That's not good, you know, even if it is whole food. If all I did all day long was drink 100% juice, you know, from the actual fruit and vegetables, well, what happens? You juice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you see all that it takes to get a certain amount of juice, right? But you wouldn't eat all of that in one sitting.
Right.
And that's what I have been learning. I've been learning, just eat the whole food whole, because then it's literally, that's how we're actually supposed to be doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, and that's what helps us not consume too many calories that our body doesn't necessarily need versus, you know, drinking it in a juice or a smoothie all the time. It's like we're not giving our bodies the information it really needs if we're always doing that.
Yeah. It's amazing how much it takes to get a glass of juice, you know? And of course, there's a lot of elements that are missing when you juice it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We use juicing as a tool to kind of help pull people away from.
It makes sense.
What they're doing.
It makes perfect sense because it's, even though there's much missing, there's some things missing, there's still a lot there. There's still a lot of good there. And the thylakoids in the leafy greens, that's what has been the saving grace in regards to cutting the cravings. And when you're doing that juicing and the leafy greens are in there, then it's helping cut those cravings. So juice, it makes sense. And I definitely see the benefits of it, especially when you're starting from ground zero.
One of the things that I've learned along the way is it's easy to get in this cycle of treatment, right? When we think of treatment, we think of medication or something like that, but you could also treat yourself with healthy or, you know, holistic remedies and things like that. I'm not a fan of treatment of any kind, you know, so if we it's like we have to know the difference between what is treatment, what are you doing that's like actually going to be your lifestyle, like what's the day-to-day, what's good for you, what's bad for you. And it's crazy when you really get to the nuts and bolts of it. Like essentially what you're saying is that juice, right, fresh squeezed juice is not optimal, and that most people would be like, you're crazy.
I know.
We're taught
I know.
You know, if you're going to eat healthy, fresh squeezed juice is and even I promote fresh squeezed juice, but I also
Uh-huh.
know that,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Look, my thing is, and this is where I'm at with it, and I
Uh-huh.
don't really say this very often, but eating in general
Yeah.
is like our biggest detriment,
Yeah.
because the
Mhm.
food that we're eating is so
Mhm.
far past what is natural. Even when we're eating the whole foods, it's
Mhm.
coming out of a ground that is contaminated. The air, there's a lot of plants and things that filter the air, and
That's
our
right.
air is polluted, you
Mhm.
know
Yeah.
so it, but I don't like to go that far, because it's like people are gonna be like, well, what are you supposed to eat, Chris?
Lose them. Yes, I know.
But it's
I
just
know.
understanding that there's levels to this, and that
Yeah.
even though you're doing something that is considered healthy, you still
Mhm.
should do it in moderation, right?
That's
There's it's just understanding everything. So I love that you have really researched that deep understanding. And I
yeah.
think that what it does is, we all know that alcohol is bad. Like, no one's gonna be like, yeah, and a cup of alcohol a day keeps the doctor away,
Oh
right?
my gosh! Actually, lots of people do that though.
That's the
You heard
wine
about
thing.
the red one?
That's the red wine thing. But I think even when people say that, though, like, I think
Yeah.
they know. I don't know. I always was like, that's some bull.
I
But
know. But
but
you know what? Yeah, I'm with you.
let's just
I'm with
assume
you.
let's just assume for a second that everybody knows that that's some bull.
Yes.
Um, at the end of the day, it's just like, we enjoy the feeling that you get when you have a glass of wine, right?
Of
So,
course.
but we know, let's do this in moderation. Like, I
Mhm.
don't be telling people you can't do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, let's do this in moderation. Let's understand that this is not good, and let's do it in
Yeah.
moderation. And if you create
Mhm.
that balance, you can still enjoy the things that aren't necessarily great for you, right? You can have a little leeway, but you
Mhm.
understand that this is like alcohol. Like, you wouldn't drink this every day. You wouldn't consume this with every meal. I mean, I know some people do, but
Well, that's what I was gonna say, Chris. Is that what you're saying is it's excellent for people who aren't like myself. I'm a refined food addict and overeater in recovery, and I can't moderate. I wish I could, but I can't. I've tried um, over the years, and it just doesn't work for me. That's why abstaining from salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar, and eating my food, my whole foods, um, has been working for me, because it's actually allowing me, it's assisting me in preventing me from being triggered to overeat. Um, I wish that it did. I wish I could moderate. My children can tell you stories of seeing me pick up refined food off of the ground and eat it. Trying to throw it in a trash can and then get it up out the trash can and eat it.
uh,
Eating refined foods that I didn't know who touched it,
mm,
and not caring, because I needed it, because my brain called for it. So for somebody like me, moderation is not something that I can do. And I'm really happy to have figured out that it doesn't work for me. I'm really happy to have figured out that I am a refined food addict and overeater. And this is my biggest why. A lot of people, or you may have heard, or you might even say, that it's important for us to figure out why
mm-hmm.
we want to choose to eat whatever way we want to eat, right?
Yeah.
And my why for why I choose to eat SoFast free, whole food plant exclusive, is because I'm tired of being in pain. I'm tired of battling my brain, calling for that next hit, that next dopamine hit from consuming excitotoxins, salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar. I'm tired of it. For me, particularly since I found out in 2017 that I'm diagnosed with bipolar and generalized anxiety disorder and PTSD and major depressive disorder. And I've been battling the symptoms of those diagnoses for well over the last 20 years. Being able to make the connection between recognizing that I'm addicted to refined foods and that these excitotoxins actually trigger overeating, which then triggers depression, which then can trigger me staying in my house for months on end, not coming out, not wanting to interact with anyone, not wanting anyone to see me, causing immeasurable suffering to my children to see me going through this, not taking showers, baths, brushing my teeth, brain saying, get up, 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 but not being able to do it. I'm really happy. I'm really happy to have gotten to the place that I am now and been able to make these connections for myself. And that's what my journey is about. Just learning how to sustainably continue to eat sulfose-free, whole food, plant exclusive, simply because of my why. Because this is what prevents, for me, being in pain.
Right.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that that all of a sudden I'm not diagnosed with these mental illnesses anymore. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden I'm not a refined food addict and overeater anymore. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that as I continue to eat salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar-free, whole food, plant exclusive, my clarity of thinking is improving.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm getting better information about how to recognize these signs and symptoms of these mental illness diagnoses, so I can I know how to move better,
right?
Because I'm catching, you know, like I was saying earlier to you, I'm in the midst right now. It's been over 4 weeks of an exhaustive battle of depression symptoms, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, eating like this over the last 7 months, that is what's helping me a lot, in addition to other, you know, forms of care that I'm under. I know it's helping me a lot to be able to recognize what's going on and know, oh, you need to amp your self-care up, amp it up, and boundaries, you know, and my boundaries, making sure that I'm not allowing anybody to throw a cape over my back. Back in 2017, when I first discovered how eating like this could help me, I was experimenting with it. After, like I said, you know, I discovered January the 11th, I went and started eating the chips again. And then, as with anyone, trauma happened. And it was some serious family trauma that occurred in 2017. And I got distracted from researching and learning, right? And teaching myself how to eat like this. And one of the best things that could ever have happened to me in 2017. I had a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized for a couple of weeks. And in a psychiatric hospital, and finally got diagnosed with PTSD and bipolar and anxiety and depression. And then I started getting information on how to process what I've been going through for all these years. And since then, I've been putting things together in my mind, right? Now that I had that new information, putting things together, learning how to live with this new information, processing it. And obviously, I got away from eating like this because I had a lot more important things to process during that time. And, but gratefully, towards the end of last year, 2019, I started feeling like I'm ready. I'm ready to get back to eating like this because I've been able to connect all the dots and see how it benefits my life and my children's lives so positively. And so January the 6th of this year, I said, I'm ready. Let's rock and roll. And that's what's been happening for the last 7 months. I've just been documenting my journey, and I'm continuing to do that. And I will continue to do it in some form or fashion whenever it works for me. And I'm grateful to be able to do so. That's how I met you and found out about your group and your initiative that you have, your awesome initiative that you have and the work that you're doing. Yeah.
Well, that's thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm hearing you say a lot of things that I'm almost certain are going to really touch individuals who haven't been addressed in the audience, haven't been addressed in the community, dealing with addiction and things like that. It's dicey. It's dicey for a lot of people. It's very unique for each individual,
Yes,
how that, so it's a very difficult subject to tackle. One question I did have for you is, as far as where you are right now, it sounds like you're at a place where you're really looking to learn how to almost cope with these diseases and these issues versus eliminate them. Am I?
Oh, yeah. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Because the reality is, Chris, and I'm not sure, what experience you have with the topic of mental illness in general, within your family, friends, what have you. The reality is, once you get diagnosed, you don't get undiagnosed. Yeah, they don't do that.
No, they don't.
They may, yeah, they don't. So what they may do is they may say, oh, you're no longer this category, you're that category now, or this level, you're that level now. But they don't undiagnose. And that's a whole nother interview. Okay. What I've been learning about that industry in general. I call it the other side of the wall. And how serious their care really is about people who they're giving these diagnoses to. But I've been learning, you don't get undiagnosed. So with that being said, I do need to learn how to cope in life in general, how to create a life that allows me to be able to cope with these various symptoms that happen within my body and within my brain, no matter what it's called. You know what I'm saying? That might be the label that's given, right? These various labels that's given. I personally don't really care about what it's called. All I know is these are the various symptoms that I've experienced and have been experiencing for a very, very long time, that without information to assist, has caused devastation in my family. So yes, you're right. I'm learning how to cope. I'm figuring out, and SoFast-free whole food plant exclusive eating, I'm learning how to sustainably do that because it sure is assisting me. And that's why I call it lifestyle medicine, particularly because of the clarity of thinking, the improvement with that, as I eat for my life, which is, that's what I'm doing. I'm eating for my life. And I have really been figuring out boundaries. I've been figuring out how important it is not to be a people pleaser because they don't go together. Having boundaries and being a people pleaser, they don't go together.
No,
they actually are exact opposite things.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome experience to be learning how important it is, because I am so intentional about putting such excellent food in my body and drinking water. That's a boundary. And because I'm so intentional about that, then it's a natural thing for me to also want to be intentional. If I'm putting such good food in my body and drinking so much water every day, then, and that's treating myself so great, then I'm not going to just listen to any old kind of thing. I'm not going to watch just any old kind of thing. I'm not just going to let any old kind of person be around me, because it's all showing me how much I care about myself,
right?
How much I love myself, right? And that helps me with boundaries in general. And it also helps me with recognizing how much quality time is important for me that I take for myself. So in addition to eating for my life, which is what I'm doing and what I call it, I also have been inspired to start Just Her Getaway, which is the other piece of my self-care. And that is inspiring and encouraging women, empowering women to take quality time out for ourselves. They have to go together for me, not just how I'm eating, but also how I'm treating myself. And those two things have really been helping me. And so that's what I do, Chris. I just talk about those things. I blog about those things. And I share my journey and how I'm learning to cope and with everything that's going on,
And the fact that you're still, a lot of people use the COVID situation as an excuse. It's like, hey, I've been doing good. I hear it a lot. I've been doing good, but then, COVID hit. And it's just like, huh?
Well, it's, I think society teaches us to think like that. And I think society in general teaches us to be victims. And so to me, that's where that comes from in general of, okay, here's something else, and now I'm a victim of it. You know what I mean? Versus recognizing that we are responsible for all of our choices.
Right.
It's hard
to
hear that, isn't it? It's hard to hear that. It's hard. And it's hard to accept that. That's why I'm happy that I do have the information about the fact that our brains are hardwired to desire the highest calorie food in our environment. Because then when it comes to that, it's not about being a victim. It's about having information so that I can set myself up, you know what I mean, to succeed in general, while still understanding that as a refined food addict and overeater in recovery, this is a journey, and it's going to be a journey for the rest of my life. And I like to let people know there are no hard, fast rules here. There aren't. Any day, any moment, you might see me eating a Big Mac, Chris. I'm keeping it 100.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a refined food addict and overeater in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is. So having that information has been helping me during COVID-19. I'm grateful I had already made this commitment before it hit.
Right.
You see what I mean? So COVID-19 has just only served to further assist me with getting more solid in my commitment to myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was something you said. We're going back a little bit, and I was just curious. When your mom and your dad, I guess you said they did a good job with teaching you all how to eat well and that sort of thing.
A lot healthier, yeah, for sure.
Right. There was some disconnect there because when you left the house, you kind of was like, yo, I'm free. I'm doing my own thing. Yeah. I was just wondering, and this is even from my own information, did your parents, when they were feeding you, did they teach you? Did they teach you why you ate what you ate? Did they teach you, the origin of their strategy as far as, live it? Or was it just kind of like eat what's on your plate? Like, what was that dynamic like?
It was not either extreme. It was more so in the middle. So I come from a family of 7. So it was myself and 4 siblings. And that felt like a big family to me. And I recognized, looking back as an adult, that my parents had been raised certain ways anyway themselves in regards to how they ate growing up. Mm-hmm. And I remember that my father, his mom, my grandma, my patriarchal grandma, she always had a garden. I remember growing up, going to her house, seeing her garden, understanding that she always had one while my dad was growing up as well. And so my parents weren't more so doing a lot of explaining about why we were eating the way we were eating. It was just obvious that it was about trying to keep us as healthy as possible and keep us out of the hospitals and keep the doctor bills away, because we had a big family. Right. And money. Okay. You know what I mean? So that's what it looked like to me. When I was growing up, it looked to be more so about, this is actually the most economical way to do things. It's what we know, Gotcha. It doesn't mean that we didn't have, we ate meat. It doesn't mean that we didn't have fried foods and, refined foods. It's just, we didn't eat as much of that as we ate. Right. Less refined foods. Definitely plenty of fruits, plenty of vegetables. And my parents didn't have us eating the lunch from school, which, interestingly enough, even though I, moved further away from the healthier foundation that I had been given in childhood, still, when I started sending my children to school, I wasn't sending them to eat the lunches in school.
Those lunches are terrible.
Yeah, I know. I know. And so you see what I mean? Like, even as I've been getting to the point that I am at right now, I still wound up establishing some of the same things that my parents were doing, even though we're, eating meat and seafood until we weren't, still fruits, vegetables, many years ago, it's been a long time now, my 17-year-old can tell you that we switched over to only water kept in the house.
Right.
The only type of liquid that's in our house. Like, she's used to it because that's been a large part of her life, actually. And also, you know, only eating seafood as a meat has been a large part of her life. So even as I've been getting to the place that I am now, you know, I still have taken on a lot that my parents gave us,
Right.
as far as, you know, the healthy eating. But no, they didn't do, you know, a lot of teaching directly about, well, this is how this benefits you and this is how that benefits you. No, I'm the one who does that now.
Right, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With my children, particularly over the last few years, the more information that I've been getting. But even before that, I've just always been someone who does a lot of research. And I have a background in holistic education and wellness, and have been teaching in general about holistic care and learning for the last 15, 16 years. So, yeah.
You're a teacher. So,
I am. Yeah.
It's interesting because when I look at my grandfather had a garden. My grandma didn't.
Okay.
My grandfather had the garden, but my grandmother, she was the teacher. So what ended up happening was my grandfather, he might take me back to his garden and we might pick a tomato or something, but he wasn't teaching me about the garden. My grandma would then teach me about like healthy eating. For me, it was like, why? I don't get it. I don't really understand why we're doing this. And I felt like we ate pretty good at home. My mom cooked every meal we ate. We would eat out, you know, maybe a couple times a month, or if we were traveling, if we were in transit somewhere, because we would travel from state to state a lot, and we would eat out on the road. But we always ate at home, and I always considered it healthy because the way my mom talked, it was like very balanced. You have your meat, you have your vegetable, you know, you have your fruit. And so it was, I got a lot of good information. The optics were good, but I didn't process it well because there was really, I didn't understand. And so for me, it was kind of similar to your journey where I left home and I knew how to cook. I never was like, I can't cook, but I was eating out, you know, I was buying stuff in a box in a package. And then I had to get really ill and sick and overweight and whatever in order to want to like kind of veer back towards what I was doing when I was younger. So I guess my point is being intentional with passing this information on to our children so that they don't have to do this swerve thing, like, you know,
that we've done, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I had another question I wanted to ask, because I'm not as familiar with the diseases that you're talking about specifically. I'm definitely not as familiar as you are.
Okay.
Are these? So I guess the refined sugar addict or the refined food addict,
addiction,
food addiction portion of it.
And overeating.
Is this something that you have always dealt with? Like as you learn more about it and how it affects you, you go back into your mind, maybe, you know, in the childhood days. Is this something that you've always dealt with, or did this happen at a particular point in life that you can kind of identify?
It started happening once I left my parents' home and at 18, and then started really consuming large amounts of refined food addiction. So yeah, it's been happening for a very long time. This refined food addiction and overeating. It's been happening ever since I left. So over the last 26 years.
Is it possible that in general, people are experiencing something like this, like if you consider this, if you consider levels to this, right?
Yeah.
Right. Almost like the autistic spectrum, where
Exactly.
there's just, there's levels.
Yeah.
Would you, based on your experience and what you've learned, would you consider that there's levels and there could be people who are mild and people who are chronic with this?
I definitely would consider that. Definitely. I've seen various levels. I know people personally who deal with various levels and various symptoms of refined food addiction and overeating. And I'm able, when I'm listening to people talk about what they're experiencing, right? I've been learning to recognize if they're at the level that I am. Because if there's any kind of moderation that's possible in any kind of way for any extended amount of time of salt, oil, flour, alcohol, and sugar, then it's not at the level that I'm at.
I got you.
The level I'm at, no moderation at all is possible. None.
Like
when I listen to other people that exhibit any kind of moderation at all, I'm like, you fortunate. You know what I mean? I don't know how fortunate, because ultimately these things are affecting the inside of our bodies.
Right. There's
in negative ways. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know how fortunate.
Right.
But I know that the addict brain, right? That's inside, the addict brain, never rests. Ever. That's what I learned in the pleasure trap. It never rests. It's always in the corner doing push-ups, ready to get put back in the game. And and guess what? Every time I put it back in the game, it's stronger. It's stronger. And so it's more. That's what happened to me just now from 2017 when I was learning about this way of eating, you know, and how beneficial it can be to an addict like myself. And then due to trauma and getting hospitalized and so many other things happening in my life, becoming distracted, and then trying to get back up. Oh, okay. You know, I want to get back to this. Woo. Addict brain said no. Addict brain said, no, like, no. And I could tell, wow, this is harder. Between 2017, when I came away from eating like this, to the beginning of this year, it's been hard. It really has. So when I finally got to the space in January of, I'm ready. I said, hey, I'm taking this day by day. This time I'm going to make a intentional focus to learn how to do this sustainably. This isn't about any hard and fast rules. This isn't about black and white. This is gray, and that's all right. This is gray. Every day is gray. It's just learning, and that's how it's going to be for the rest of my life. And maybe a couple of months in, this time is when it clicked, like, yeah, you're doing it. And you just keep doing it. Every day, you just keep doing it. It doesn't matter. And I don't use terms like fall off the wagon. I don't use terms like cheat days, because what I've been learning is those things don't help me. No. Those things set me up. Using terms like that set me up, because it's gray. This is a journey. Yep. You know what I mean? One bite at a time. So for me, that's why I tell people, you might see me eating a Big Mac tomorrow. Don't say nothing.
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This
And why
is life.
would you?
We're human beings.
Yeah.
You know,
People make mistakes.
yeah, and even outside of mistakes, with this information about recognizing that this is how our brains are hardwired to actually desire the highest calorie food in our environment, anything's possible. And with that information, then it's no longer, oh my God, look at me. I fell off the wagon. I cheated. Oh, what am I going to do now? No, it's, oh yeah, it's to be expected.
Right.
Is what happens, you know, when your brain is hardwired to want the highest calorie food in your environment. This is what happens. Addict brain is always waiting to see, hey, like right now, over the last 4 weeks since I've been battling these exhaustive depression symptoms, oh my gosh, my brain has really been trying to talk to me and see if I'm willing to do some excuses. You know, you sure you don't want to drink? Because I'm going through some things right now, Chris. And you sure you don't slice a pizza to make you feel better? That's what addict brain does, because addict brain just wants what it wants. And I mean, it's even, you sure you don't want to just eat this, eat that, smoke this, drink that? I had an addiction to Percocet before. So, and I don't moderate. I don't moderate well for anything. So alcohol, I drink to get drunk. I drank the same way that I eat the salt, the oil, the flour, alcohol, the sugar, same way that I eat those foods, those comfort foods with those excitotoxins in them, to feel better. That's why they're called comfort foods, is the same way I feel about alcohol. Give me the bottle. Okay. Because we all got stress, don't we? Every last one of us. There's nobody on the face of this earth that doesn't have some sort of stress. We all have it. It's a natural part of life. For me, I use excitotoxins to try to give me some kind of relief from the stress. And so yeah, people say, you want to have a glass of wine or sit and drink socially? No, I need the bottle. You know, and New Year's Eve was the last time that I had a drink, and I didn't have a drink. I had a lot of drinks. I had a lot of drinks. Okay, and didn't even realize how intoxicated I was until I went to go lay down, and that's dangerous. I'm too old. You know, not that it has anything to do with age, but for goodness sake, I'm a mom to a 14, to a 17-year-old and a 24-year-old. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's time for something else. It's time for something different. You know? And what am I showing my children?
Right.
You know? So, that's what I'm doing, Chris. One bite at a time, one day at a time, you know?
Well,
figuring it out.
You know, I understand that this is certainly a lifelong journey. And what I will say is, from my point of view, which is completely different from yours, in general, when it comes to health and wellness in general, there has been this idea of many things that are you can't, there's no reversing of, we're going to cope with or whatever. That's, you know, cancer. They say you never not have cancer. It's always going to be there. It's always going to be lurking and waiting. Okay. My journey is to really break free of those restraints. And so I'm always looking to learn more about, you know, particular ailments or diseases or issues that people have. And my brain is always thinking, how can we fix this and live more naturally? Because I don't believe that a lot of these issues
Well, we have more in common than you might realize then, because I think like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my friends, he's been really researching like mental health and all of that within the past probably year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that there is a way to reverse 99% of our disease, our ailment, and the issues that we have. But obviously we have to believe that we can, otherwise we're not going to look for the solution. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I have a solution, because I don't.
Right.
But I do want to, put out there for you and anybody else who's listening that I'm certainly looking for solutions for everything.
I'm the same way, Chris. We're a lot more alike than you might realize. I'm the same exact way. I am grateful to have information that, though we're told that our bodies have diseases, really it's about our bodies being in states of dis-ease.
Right.
And as a result, that means that we need to look at what needs to be done in order to bring our bodies out of the state of dis-ease.
Right.
And that's why, if you noticed earlier, I mentioned I don't really care what certain labels have been given to certain symptom sets.
Right.
That's why I said that, because at the end of the day, symptoms are symptoms. And it's about figuring out, okay, why did our body give us that symptom? Because symptoms are just flags. Symptoms are our body's natural way of literally saying, hello, something's going on.
Exactly.
That's what a symptom is, right? So I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, for sure. I'm in the same space of looking to figure out how to answer my body's call and my brain's call when they're giving me these symptoms. I'm looking to figure out, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to bring the homeostasis, right? In a much better place. How do I do that? I'm in a constant state of thinking about that, researching, figuring it out. And that's why I mentioned that eating like this is lifestyle medicine for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And also the thing that I've noticed that's very obvious is, as you have started this journey and you're taking steps towards the unknown,
right?
You are experiencing a higher quality of life. So it's not as if you got to get to the end of the journey to get the benefit. The benefit is the journey.
That's right. It really is. It really is.
Yeah. So what I wanted to ask is, we talked earlier, you share this information, you have a couple platforms where people can come and find you and maybe take this journey along with you so that they can start experiencing some of the benefit of what you learned. Like how can people find you?
Okay, so online in general, people can find me through the 2 self-care initiatives that I am on and that I have implemented, which is eatingformylife.com, and the I in life is a 1. So that's the difference. It's EATINGFORMYL1FE.com. So they can find me there, and they can find me at justhergetaway.com. And that's JUSTHERGETAWAY. And there at eatingformylife.com, a 1 instead of an I in life. and justhergetaway.com, they will be able to then see Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, and they're pretty similar. Definitely Instagram, as far as the spelling, and the Facebook. We have a private women's Facebook group for Just Her Getaway and a page for Eating for My Life. Same spelling.
Okay. Well,
Same
I'll put
They'll find
the
everything.
spelling in the description and
yeah.
the comment section of the video.
Okay.
That
Okay.
way, you know, there's no confusion, because
Yeah.
I feel like that I've learned something today, and I feel like there is a highlight on an area or a topic that we have not highlighted thus far. And I also feel like some of the solutions that you've highlighted to some of the problems that you're dealing with are new as well, or at least refreshed. You know, definitely, you know, the we call it SOFOs, right?
Sofa.
Sofa. Okay. Sofa.
Yeah. Like
You know,
sofa with an S. Sofas.
Sofas.
That's Chef
many
AJ.
sofas you
She
got?
came up with that acronym. Chef AJ came up with that acronym of SOFAs. She put those, you know, salt, oil, flour, alcohol, sugar. She put those in that, and in that, you know,
that's
order.
her thing. Got it.
SOFAs free. Yeah, SOFAs free.
Okay. So you know, we've got some more information that we've added to our tool belt, and some new tools that we can use that will help and reach, you know, a new member of the community, I think, for sure. So I appreciate your time. I thank you for coming.
I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you so much for you know, giving me this opportunity. I'm honored, because you are doing some wonderful things, for sure.
Well, you know, I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do. And
me too.
yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So it's enjoyable for me. Like I really enjoy doing it, and also being able to highlight individuals like you, because I feel like it's people like us who are really going to create that change, like that real change that helps people get the transformation they're looking. I just feel like traditional methods, we've been doing that for a while now.
What are we getting? Yeah.
It's not getting us anywhere. We got to change something. We got to do something new. So, you know, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all next time.
Bye. Thank you.